You didn't suddenly start spending more, and companies didn't suddenly change. What changed was the system. Tickets became stressful to buy. Subscriptions became harder to cancel. Merch got expensive, but skipping it felt worse. Nothing looks broken. Every price has a reason. Yet this pricing system has quietly pulled over $100 billion from fans, not by force, but by training them to accept more. And once you see how it works, you can't unsee it. Fans were once supporters. Now they are behavioral patterns. Across entire industries, pricing is no longer about setting a fair number and defending it. It's about adjusting pressure just enough to keep people engaged, committed, and paying. Music platforms rely on it. Sports leagues depend on it. Streaming services are built around it. Live events would collapse without it. This system doesn't aim to maximize today's price. It aims to increase tomorrow's tolerance. That distinction matters, because when tolerance rises quietly across millions of people, prices don't need to jump. They only need to drift. And when drifting becomes the norm, fans don't rebel, they adapt. What's at stake isn't just money, it's the transformation of passion into leverage. Because once love becomes predictable, it becomes exploitable without ever feeling hostile. The trick never begins with a price tag, it begins with atmosphere. Before you ever see a number, you're shown signals designed to shift your mindset. Limited seats, countdown timers, exclusive windows, early access for true fans. Scarcity feels natural, but it isn't. It's scheduled. Your brain doesn't start calculating cost yet. It starts calculating regret. What if this sells out? What if prices rise later? What if this never happens again? Once that emotional loop starts, value becomes secondary. You're no longer deciding whether something is worth the price. You're deciding whether you can live with missing it. That shift is deliberate. The moment urgency enters the equation, rational comparison disappears. You stop weighing alternatives and start protecting yourself from future disappointment. The most effective pricing doesn't argue with logic, it bypasses it. Once urgency pulls you in, the system starts learning, not about demand in general, about you. How fast you clicked, how long you hesitated, whether you left and came back. How often you check similar offers. Prices don't move randomly, they respond. Two fans can see the same event at the same time, with the same excitement, and still be tested at different price points. Not because one deserves it, because one has already shown more tolerance. Over time, pricing stops being a fixed decision and becomes a conversation. The system pushes slightly. You respond. It adjusts again. Fans think they're shopping. In reality, they're being calibrated. You're not paying the price. You're paying the price the system believes you'll accept. As resistance begins to surface, prices don't rise sharply. They multiply. Basic, standard, premium, VIP, ultimate. This feels empowering. It isn't. The presence of tiers reframes the decision. Fans stop asking whether they want the product at all. They ask which version reflects who they are. Choosing the cheapest option feels like opting out emotionally. Choosing the higher tier feels like loyalty. Identity quietly replaces evaluation. And once identity is involved, price sensitivity drops dramatically. The system doesn't need everyone to buy the top tier. It only needs enough people to feel uncomfortable choosing the bottom. The illusion of choice is more profitable than forcing agreement. After pricing and tiers come attachment mechanisms. Points accumulate, badges appear, streaks form, early access unlocks. None of these reduce cost, they increase commitment. Fans don't just pay for access anymore. They invest time, status, and history. Canceling stops feeling like a financial decision. It starts feeling like abandoning progress. The longer someone stays, the harder it becomes to step back and evaluate the relationship clearly. Spending becomes maintenance rather than choice, and maintenance feels responsible. The strongest lock-in isn't financial, it's emotional continuity. Eventually, fans notice something is off. Not all at once, not dramatically. They don't protest, they grow tired, they skip one event, they downgrade one tier, they hesitate longer before clicking buy. The system doesn't panic. It reads this not as warning, but as friction data. Prices stabilize briefly, messaging softens, transparency increases, but nothing truly resets. Trust quietly gives way to management. The relationship shifts from shared enthusiasm to negotiated tolerance. Fans aren't leaving in anger, they're staying with conditions. This is the most powerful phase. Nothing collapses. Fans adjust their budgets. They plan around prices. They rationalize increases. Complaints fade, not because everything is fine, but because resistance feels ineffective. Revenue doesn't vanish, it concentrates. The system no longer needs universal approval. It only needs enough quiet compliance. Outrage would be dangerous. Exhaustion is profitable. The trick succeeds when higher prices feel inevitable rather than unfair. This isn't a scam. It isn't deception in the traditional sense. It's optimization without empathy. No single executive designed this outcome. No meeting decided to drain fans. The system evolved naturally, step by step, by rewarding what worked and ignoring what didn't. Scarcity increased conversions, personalization increased revenue, tiers increased averages, commitment reduced churn. Each layer made sense on its own. Together, they built a machine that extracts more by never asking for too much at once. That's why it's so difficult to resist. Fans aren't forced. They're guided, and guidance feels voluntary until you realize how narrow the path has become. Fans often say they're losing interest. That isn't true. They're losing energy. Every decision requires more thought. Every purchase feels heavier. Every interaction feels negotiated. Love becomes labor, and when passion starts to feel like work, something fundamental has changed, even if nothing appears broken from the outside. This is how pricing systems win quietly. They don't destroy enthusiasm. They consume it slowly. The 100 billion pricing trick doesn't rely on manipulation alone. If it did, people would notice, they would resist, they would push back. What makes it powerful is patience. This system doesn't demand more all at once. It applies pressure gradually, almost politely. So gradually that each step feels reasonable on its own. A small increase here, a new tier there, an added fee explained as improvement. None of it feels alarming. Human perception isn't built to measure slopes. It's built to notice cliffs. So when prices rise slowly, people don't feel exploited, they feel adjusted. Each change resets expectations. What once felt expensive becomes normal. What once felt optional becomes standard. By the time fans pause and ask how things got this costly, the answer no longer matters, because their behavior has already adapted. Budgets have shifted, habits have changed, alternatives feel distant. That's the brilliance of the system. It never forces a confrontation. It never triggers outrage. It avoids the moment where people might say, enough. Instead, it teaches acceptance. And that's also the danger, because systems that feel normal don't invite scrutiny. They don't feel like problems to solve. They feel like reality. When something feels aggressive, people fight it. When it feels unfair, they organize against it. But when it feels normal, resistance fades quietly. Normal doesn't raise alarms. Normal doesn't demand attention. Normal is absorbed, and once a system becomes part of everyday life, it stops being questioned, even when it's quietly taking more than it should. That's why this pricing trick is so hard to undo. You can argue with numbers. You can debate policies. But it's almost impossible to fight a system that has convinced people nothing unusual is happening. Because by the time normal feels wrong, it's already everywhere. If this helped you understand why the things you love now feel heavier, not suddenly, but steadily, support Inside the Numbers by liking the video, sharing it with someone who's felt this shift, and subscribing. Because the most powerful pricing systems don't feel like pressure. They feel reasonable, and by the time they don't, you've already learned to live with them.